So this is our opportunity to welcome you to the Ramily. We did some nice chants today in some of the orientations, so that was fun. Y'all had some good school spirit. But I want to officially welcome you to the Ramily. For those of you who are new, we also have some returning students with us, faculty and staff. It's really nice to have everybody here. Virginia Commonwealth University is a very special place. And this is a very special time for us because we are joining together for our first in-person convocation since 2016. So it's really special to have all of you here. I'd like to start by introducing you to some of the people in our community. These individuals make up the community that you will collaborate with, learn with, and grow with during your time here. So I'm going to start with our student organizations. And so if our MSW Student Association, if anybody from that association can stand up, we'd like to recognize you. All right. Student Association that's with us. All right. Thank you, Angela. Of Black social workers. The queer and trans social workers at VCU. All right. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize our student success advising team. Where are y'all? I know you're here unless you're still working the event. There you go. So these are, and y'all, but these are the folks that will walk with you, support you, and help you on this journey as you're continuing to learn. I'd also like to recognize our faculty, if our faculty in the room can stand. Do we have anyone here from the Radical Alliance for Anti-Racism, Change, and Equity Race? All right. Field education? And all of our staff, and some of you, this will be a second time standing or a third. All right. Oh. And then last but not least, can all of our new students stand so that we can acknowledge you? Yeah. Welcome. VCU is a very special place where diversity drives excellence. As one of the most diverse state colleges, it's embracing its designation as a minority serving institution. The university is committed to a diverse, inclusive, and equitable university and world. And as social workers, y'all are going to be an important part of that. They were recently awarded the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award, and combined this commitment with cutting edge research and teaching so that the opportunities for you are limitless. This is a place where access meets opportunity, and we're really excited that you're here. This year, the VCU School of Social Work celebrates 105 years of educating the next generation of change agents. So you might be wondering what you can expect here. As a member of this community, you're part of a group of people who engage our communities, initiate difficult dialogues, and confront today's social inequities. We are practitioners, scholars, and community leaders. Our commitment and passion lead us as the #1 ranked school of social work in the state of Virginia. Community ties run deep with over 500 community partners, students from 26 states and the District of Columbia, and faculty leading the way in high impact community engaged research. We have more than 11,000 alumni, so you will meet RAMs, social work RAMs across the globe. You will have the opportunity to connect through 5 school student sponsored organizations. You're here because you're committed to making a difference. The VCU School of Social Work is the right place to do that. We are honored tonight to have as our first speaker, Dr. Fotis Sotiropoulos, who has been VCU's Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs since August 2021. So what Provost means is that he's the university's highest ranking academic official. As Provost, he is responsible for creating and implementing the academic priorities for the university. He works closely with academic deans, faculty, and other leadership within the university to ensure a safe, high-quality learning experience for all VCU students. Dr. Sotiropoulos also leads faculty recruitment and retention efforts, ensuring the VCU's diverse, outstanding faculty are supported and well prepared to serve your needs. He holds an academic appointment as Professor of Mechanical and Nuclear Engineering in the VCU College of Engineering. Join me in welcoming Dr. Sotiropoulos.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you all for being here. I hope this is working, right? Okay, super. So I have to say that I am immensely honored to be here in the #1 ranked School of Social Work in the state of Virginia and one of the top ranked schools in the nation. And while as Provost, usually I'm blamed for everything. I would like to be able to take credit for this. I realize that unfortunately I can't, because the reason that the school is so highly ranked is because of all of you. It's because of our amazing faculty who are doing incredibly important and passionate and impactful work in both the teaching, the research, and the community service. It's because of the staff of the school who are working so hard to make everything work. And also because of the amazing students and the 11,000 alumni that the school has produced that are out there changing the world and making a real difference. So for all of those new students that are here, as well as the new faculty, I think you're here for a wild ride. It's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, and you are actually starting on this incredible new phase in your life, and you're going to soon be joining this 11,000 alumni, and we'll expect nothing less from you than to be the next generation of leaders, change makers, innovators, and social workers that will really make a difference in so many different ways. So I want to express my gratitude to all of you who are doing all this important work. And also emphasize that something that I've said on a number of occasions, and those of you who are new, you'll get tired to hear me say this. This is an amazing time to be here at VCU. I have been at VCU, as your dean just mentioned, for a little over a year here. And one thing that I have come to realize, I've been touched by this energy, this engagement, this enthusiasm of this rich, diverse urban community. What I have come to refer as VCU magic. I've been touched by the magic. I experience it every day. And you will all of you who are new, you'll soon experience that. And you'll understand very soon what I mean by that. There are no words, no matter how I have to describe, how I try to describe. I think words don't do justice. You'll soon know, those of you who are new, what that means. And you'll be able to be part of this magic and make it even more magical. So this is an exciting time to be at VCU, not only because we are able to be here again in person sometimes for the first time after a very long time, but also because we are setting up a path for taking VCU to new heights of excellence by to turn VCU as the model for the university of the future. A university that is committed to access, provide that a university that is distinguishing itself not only by all those we exclude, but all those we include and give opportunity. We are immensely proud for the diversity of our students and the fact that we give opportunity to students who simply did not happen to have the same amount of opportunity earlier on in their careers, but they can come here to VCU and show what they are made of and show what they can do and what they can accomplish. We are also a university that we are an R1 research university. And for those of you who may not know what this means, we are one of the leading research universities in this country, right? VCU right now is ranking in the top 60 public universities in terms of research. Why this is important? Because universities like VCU are not only in the business of disseminating knowledge, like through teaching and educational initiatives, but we're producing knowledge. So our faculty are doing cutting edge research, and you, all the students, you have the chance to benefit from that. Because you are at the frontier where knowledge is produced. And by the way, we live in a world where knowledge is changing extremely fast. Our world is changing extremely fast. So being in a place where the research mission is so important, it's truly incredible for your educational experience. So we are at the frontier here at VCU now of trying to reimagine the educational experience, the student experience. We are advancing what we call a culture of care for all our students. We want to make sure that not only we provide an environment where you feel you belong, that this is a family-like atmosphere, an environment where you can thrive, graduate on time in 4 years, but also graduate with meaningful degrees that will position you to have productive, to be first of all informed, compassionate, globally, culturally aware citizens of the world, of this country and the world for that matter, but at the same time to be able to be productive members of the economy, of our economy. You are the ones who are students who will drive economic development, innovation, change, and social justice that we all care so much about. So these are the types of things that we focus as a university. These are the types of things that distinguish us as a university. And I can tell you that as your provost, I am immensely excited to be here and have the chance to be part of this. So as much as I cannot take any credit for all the success that your school has, I am immensely proud for that. So I would like to welcome you to VCU, and wish you a fantastic year ahead of you. And I will be here again, basking in your success and looking forward to hear new success stories from all these new students who are here. I mean, so welcome to VCU. Have an amazing time. This is going to be a fun ride for all of you. Thank you. Can I do one thing?
Absolutely.
Can I have a take a selfie? All right. That's the part. Can be like because that is going on. No, this is for those of you who know me. I love doing these things. So let's. I'll try to get as many as I can. Okay. All right.
Yeah, appreciate it. And now I am happy to welcome Dr. Paul Harris as part of this year's Dean Speaker Series. I'd like to share a few details about Dr. Harris's career and expertise before we welcome him to the podium. Dr. Harris is currently a fellow with the Collaboration for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. As a part of his fellowship, he is serving as the Intervention and Training Specialist for the Social and Emotional Learning for Chesterfield County Public Schools in Richmond. He previously served as Associate Professor of Education at the Pennsylvania State University and the University of Virginia. He earned his bachelor's degree in health and physical education with a concentration in sports medicine and his master's degree in school counseling from the University of Virginia. He earned his Ph.D. in counselor education from the University of Maryland. He also holds a Master of Divinity degree from Virginia Union University. Dr. Harris's research draws from his previous experience as a high school counselor in Newport News, Virginia, and Loudoun County, Virginia, and focuses on investigating the mental health and college and career readiness of underserved students, especially Black youth, and analyzing the identity development process of Black male student athletes in particular. He is the former president of the Virginia School Counselor Association and a former member of the Board of Directors of the American School Counselor Association. He currently serves on the Senior Advisory Board for the Professional Counselor Journal. His contributions to the field have been acknowledged by the American School Counselor Association, American Educational Research Association, Southern Association of Counselor Education, and Supervision and Education Trust. Whew, that's a lot, Dr. Harris. That's impressive. So I will now turn things over to Dr. Harris.
Good evening. Good evening. Y'all hear me all right? All right. Dr. Gomez, thank you so much for that kind introduction. Thank you all for having me this evening. It's a privilege to just be a part of a new beginning with you all. Dr. Clark, thank you for the invitation and setting up the opportunity for me to share with you tonight. I think I have about 2 hours, but I'll probably just go a little bit under that. Is that right? I'm grateful that you're all here. You could be anywhere else, right? You could be at Swim RVA where my kids are right now getting a lesson, or at home preparing for Jeopardy, which is what they also like to watch. But you're here, and I'm grateful to be a part of what is your fall convocation, a gathering of people together for a purpose. In this case, it's a new beginning. It's a community that's celebrating a new opportunity, a new adventure, new possibilities. For some of you, maybe a new roommate, maybe new leadership, but it's a chance for all of us to be great. A new opportunity to be great. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge just the few years that it's been and that you're here. Right? I don't know everyone's story in the room, but I suspect everyone has a story, and that you are here is, I imagine, no small feat. And so we celebrate that today as well. It's an opportunity for a new perspective, and again, to be great. In fact, this morning, I was trying to be great with Allie Love. Anybody? I hang out with Allie Love almost every day, about 5 a.m., 5:30. Some days I'll hang out with Alex Toussaint. Am I losing you already? Other days I might hang out with Tunde. Peloton. We bought a Peloton during the pandemic, one of the greatest purchases. But this morning, well, I got to back up a step because my dog might see this. We also got a golden doodle, and so he's definitely up there with the Peloton. But this morning we got to hang out with a few others. Allie Love was there. She's the instructor, and it was a 70s ride. And so we hung out with Bill Withers this morning. We hung out with Prince this morning. We hung out with the Staple Singers this morning. We hung out with Jackson 5 this morning. Even Billy Joel, I think, showed up on the back end of our time. But during the ride, while I'm gasping for air, I hear Allie say something about Prince and how his point of entry into music, and certainly throughout his career, it wasn't easy. She talked about what we would be without if not for him. Now, in the moment, again, I'm trying to just catch my breath. And when I got off, I thought about that, and I thought about what music has crossed generations, crossed genres, because he was who he was. And so when I talk about making the choice to be great, please know that that's inextricably linked to your reducing barriers and creating space for others to be great. If you haven't already, and perhaps I imagine you have already, so today could be a recommitment, but if you haven't, today is a great opportunity to commit to disrupting and dismantling the status quo in your sphere of influence, that currently the status quo privileges some and marginalizes many others. In doing that, so that influence, that leadership that you have, allows others to have their unrestrained brilliance benefit us all. When I talk about being great, I'm talking about all of us promoting equity on purpose. And so if I were to title this time, not 2 hours, if anybody's still hanging on to that, that was a joke. But if I were to title our time together, it would be promoting equity on purpose. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you tonight. And there are 4 things that I'm going to share, or that rather I want you to consider as a part of your relentless pursuit of promoting equity. First is a question. It's what's in your world. The second is a moral imperative is not always enough. Thirdly, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, without anti-racism is not DEI at all. And fourthly, expect resistance. Expect resistance. Spend most of my time on the first two, and then we'll try to close with the last two. So what's in your world? As a professor, one of the favorite questions that I ask at the beginning of every semester is that. I ask my students, what's in your world? But I don't ask them to talk about it. I ask them to draw it. So you can imagine college students, some cases master's students, even doctoral students, and I've even done it with colleagues in different workshops. They kind of look at me side-eyed like, didn't I come to college? Grad school, and you're asking me to draw? I say, yes, draw. There can't be any words. It's got to be a pictorial representation. And so just for a moment, while I silence myself for maybe 5 seconds, think about what you would draw if I were to hand out pieces of paper. What would you put on that sheet? What's in your world? Got a picture? Still developing, I know. Now, since I have the mic and we're not all sharing, I'm gonna go a little bit beyond the 90 seconds that I give my students and myself to share. But typically I would model what's in my world. But to go off the script of what I may have drawn, I'll tell you a little bit about my being the youngest of 4 kids, growing up in Long Island, New York, or on Long Island, New York, born to Doris and Charlie Harris. Dad was born in Leslie, Georgia, 1938. Mom born in Mobile, Alabama, 1939. They got married in 1957. Dad joins the military. The Air Force travels the world. They get out of Harlem, New York, where both had their struggles for sure. Their riches for sure too, but certainly socioeconomic challenges that I did not have to grow up with, thanks to their sacrifice. So they travel the world. They end up back on Long Island after at one point being stationed there during their time in the military. They have 3 children. My oldest brother's in the Air Force Academy. My sister joined him there for some time, and my other brother, who's 7 years older than me, right? So that's the scene when I came on the scene, when Dad retired from the Air Force. And so as I learned, he called my brother Chuck in Colorado Springs, and there was nothing but laughter on the phone because he couldn't believe that my dad was retiring and then having a baby. So standing in front of you is definitely a miracle, if you don't realize that already. But those were words. I wouldn't have put that on my drawing. You got that just as a side dish. But in my drawing, I'd have those people for sure. Mom, dad, my 3 older siblings, my now 13, I can't keep count, of nephews and nieces, our dog. The sun would be there because we love to travel to the beach. Weights would be there. The Peloton would be there because exercise is life for me now. I can't play ball, so I get on the bike and we lift, right? We just try to get the heart rate going. I would have books there because I love to read. So tell me your favorite on the way out, please, so I can pick up another one. I would have my amazing wife of 17 years, Taylor, in that picture, who is an author in her own right, just published her first memoir, This Boy We Made, about our son. I'd have our 3 children there, our oldest daughter, who's 11. Brilliant, quiet, perceptive, takes it all in, won't say a word, but when we get home can tell you everything about everyone and every dynamic in the room. I'd have my son, Christopher, diagnosed just recently with epilepsy. Sorry, little spoiler in the book. Actually, we didn't even know that in the book. But still dealing with other medical concerns and issues that we just can't figure out, but incredibly brilliant and bright child. I tell you, or I draw on that sheet also my daughter, Juliet. I'd have there the rotunda at the University of Virginia, where I attended as an undergraduate, where I proposed to my wife, and where we were able to go back and work for 10 years. I'd have on there the Penn State Nittany Lion, our most recent stop. Not as much allegiance there. We are, for any Penn State fans in the room. I'd have that there because we spent time there. Our kids went to school there. We built friends there. And even if I were to stop with that, which I think captures much of what I put on my drawing, because I actually did it in preparation for this time together, so I could be honest about what I did in 3 minutes, which is what I typically give my students, there would still be so much more to share. And I imagine if I asked you to share your world in the minute and a half, that you'd probably have more that you could have shared, right? You'd say, I didn't tell you anything about fill in the blank, like I left my dog out, don't tell them. Right? You'd have things on your picture that you didn't get to share. So here's a question, maybe rhetorical, maybe not, if they're allowed to participate, I'm not sure. Why do you think I would even bring up that exercise that I do with my students in my class here at Fall Convocation in the School of Social Work on a talk about promoting equity on purpose? Why would I bring up the question, what's in your world? What relevance would that have? I'll give you some thoughts. I imagine everybody's thinking in these, they're wondering, does he really want us to say this out loud? One is our worlds are incredibly vast, right? There's no way you finished your drawing in 2 minutes. There's no way you shared it all in a minute and a half. And yet the interaction sometimes we have as helpers, I'm a trained counselor, as social workers, school psychologists, other people in the helping field, it's often so brief. Going to private practice, yes, billable hours once a week, right? You get that time. But even then, you're getting a slice of this individual's world, and yet they are leaning on you to help facilitate their thought process in such a way that takes you from A to B. Talk about humbling. As you step into this field and this profession, think about that responsibility and stay low, meaning be humble, right? Because the worlds coming to you are dynamic. They're always changing. Maybe it's because you had pancakes for breakfast, but they're different. One day to the next, you have loss, you have grief, you have gains, you have exciting moments, you have tougher moments, right? Our worlds are constantly changing. And when clients and students come to you, it's important to remember, you may not be the same person I saw last week. Let me check in, let me get low. And when you get your Ph.D., you stay low, because the learning doesn't stop there. You got the point? Other things that may come up from you that have come up in previous opportunities in sharing that particular exercise is how we all have a unique voice. So for you new students coming in, you're going to sit in class and just think, oh my goodness, everybody is brilliant. Everybody, I was a big fish in my small pond, and now everybody's a big fish. Can I tell you something? What's in your world is in your world. And there's nobody in the space that you occupy in this class, in this program, in your community, in your dorm, wherever you are, that has what you can offer. You have a unique gift that without which this community will not function as optimally as it possibly can. Now, conversely, in all of our worlds, there are things that we can't see. I'm about to say I'm young. I don't know if I can say that anymore. I think I'm young. I'm a Black male, the youngest of 4 kids. I grew up in New York. I played basketball. I played baseball, played volleyball in middle school, right? They're all, my parents are pastors. I'm a PK, right? So there are all of these perspectives that I'll bring to the table. But how many know there are a lot of things I didn't say that my wife of 17 years helps me with? I didn't say I was a woman. I don't identify as that. My wife helps me understand how, if I'm not careful, I can stand in front of you, in front of a classroom with well-intentioned syllabi and ideas and research and marginalize the woman in the room, because that's not my socialized lived experience. She also reminds me that I can marginalize the introverts in the room if I'm not careful. So I do a lot less small groups now because of her. She said, everybody don't want to get into groups like you. Stop doing that. My whole syllabus, small groups, get into small groups. Here's your prompts. Give them something to write. I'm like, you know what? Okay, you're right. Point being, there is this unconscious ignorance that all of us have. I used to say blind spots, and a really good colleague said, Paul, pulled me aside, said, it's kind of ableist language. Like, maybe think about shifting. I said, never thought of that. We'll go to unconscious ignorance or implicit bias, whatever else you want to fill in that blank with. We all have it. There are things we don't realize on a daily basis about who we are, and this isn't shaming, this is just reality. I started strength-based, told you how unique your voice was, but we all have also these areas that, if we're not careful, can marginalize those in our sphere of influence, which of course we don't want to do, right? So we want to build on the strengths, and we want to find ourselves in community that almost every day I talk to in my academic community, who I think I'm going to name, because in the past 4 or 5 years, literally, they are the reason why I'm standing here. Dr. Eric Hines, community, Florida State University. Dr. Desiree Vega, school psychologist, scholar at University of Arizona. Renee Mays, a school counseling scholar at University of Arizona. I'm literally here because of them, right? Hey, Paul, watch this. Hey, Paul, you should think about this. Hey, Paul, I think you might have missed this. Be in community with folks who don't always look like you, think like you, sound like you, smell like you, whatever. You get into the things you get into. There's space for that for sure. We all want it, but then there's space to be sharpened by others. And now, certainly as an educator, scholar, teacher, community engaged citizen, nothing brings me more joy than to see your voices leveraged to speak truth that promotes justice, that promotes equity, that promotes access. Some of my childhood, and I shared a little bit about this already, so I won't wax too eloquent on this, but I mentioned my parents were pastors, and so we would drive from Long Island to the Bronx. Because even though my parents moved to Long Island, they were still city dwellers. So first we started in Harlem in a storefront church, moved uptown to 123rd Street, and then we were on 464 East Tremont in the South Bronx. 45 minutes back and forth. Sunday was all day. Got up at whatever time and you got home, it was dark. Then we were Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I would watch. My dad, if I'm honest, was the first community engaged scholar I've ever met before it was cool. Didn't go into the community thinking how many members I can get, rather went into the community and said, what do you need? How do we serve together? How do we as a scholar collect data together? I digress. But one thing that I learned in that space, and I'll talk about some other spaces here in a moment, is that a moral imperative isn't enough. That's the second point. So we've moved on from what's in your world now to a moral imperative not being enough. And I want to skip to another exercise that I do with my students that I'll ask you to consider in this moment. And the question, it's another question, is when is the first time you knew you were different? When did you first learn you were different? You don't have to answer, but imagine yourself in pairs. One of you is sharing, the other is listening without interrupting. And then after hearing the partner finish is asking these questions. Did you leave anything out? What I heard you say was, and they give back to you what they heard. How did that affect you? And how does it affect you now? Again, I would model, you're tired of hearing about me, but I'm going to share a little bit more about some of my childhood. One of the stories that I like to share. It's fourth grade. I'm in Miss Tully's class on Long Island, okay? Miss Tully calls my parents and says, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, we need you to come to the school. Paul is disrupting the class. Mom and dad are able to come to the school. She proceeds to tell them, when Paul leans back in his chair, everybody leans back in his chair. When Paul throws something or does whatever, everybody, and so I'm ready to jump in and say, but everybody else is doing it too. I don't. She goes on, and my mom and dad, they're sitting there and they listen. And then at some point, one or both of them say, it sounds like our son might be a leader. It sounds like maybe we can shift how we position him so that the leadership is for good and not for what I hear you saying is bad. So of course, I'm like, what? Yes. Chest is sticking out in this meeting, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. And then we ride home and I say, can you believe her? At that point, dad, mom, pastor, Mother Harris, like that, they turned around and said, don't you ever have us coming up in this school for anything like that ever again. And I'm like, but you just said I was a leader. And they went on to say, Paul, we know you know you're a Black boy. We know that. We talked to you about it. But here's an opportunity for us to go a little bit further. Have you looked around our neighborhood? Have you looked in your school? How many brown boys in your class? It's me. How many in your grade, in your school? Maybe on two hands. He didn't say anything negative about Miss Tully, which is why I can say her name to this day. They did not say, they didn't slander. They just said, you will be noticed. You will be noticed. And for better or for worse, there are going to be standards to which you have to rise that maybe you don't feel others do too. Maybe everybody else was doing it, Paul, but you stood out. And now, as a father of three, as a husband, as an educator, speaking truth to unjust systems and policies while facilitating the empowerment of individuals trying to navigate that system is something that I try to do myself as well as empower others to do. But if there's one thing that I've noticed in this work is that a moral imperative is not always enough to provoke change in systems. And what I would encourage you today is that you don't need to wait for it. When I think about sports, for example, if a moral imperative was enough, we'd see better results in college graduation rates for Black male student athletes. We'd see, or at least talk more and care more about the human cost of the $17 billion youth sports industry. We care more about Black males foreclosing on their identity way too early. If a moral imperative was enough, we'd care more about Black athletes being ready for college and not just eligible to play in college. We care more about Black and brown athletes providing labor on the cheap to the tune of billions of dollars, usually lining mostly white pockets. If a moral imperative was enough. And so as a scholar, you heard some of what I pursue in my work. There are three simple goals that I pursue. One is to improve the college and career readiness of underserved students. Two, to promote the identity development of Black male student athletes in particular. And three, to facilitate the empowerment of anti-racist school counselors. In the thread of equity, justice, and access, if you haven't already been able to tell from the exercises we've walked through, they flow through my teaching and service as well. Every semester, I'm asking myself, what would it look like for every student in this room to be seen, to feel valued, to feel heard, to feel included in that space? Maybe we'll start with what's in your world. And then maybe I'll tailor the syllabus and the content to what I hear when they tell me. Maybe we talk about how we're different and the perspective on difference. Maybe I'll talk about Prince and what we might have missed out had the public shaming he endured taken him off track of what his gift was. When I read this quote by William Roden, who wrote a book called $40 Million Slaves, I'm reminded again that a moral imperative has not been enough to thwart this narrative that has persisted for generations. And the quote says this: for centuries, the Black athlete has been unable to escape the narrative of athletics being used as a way out. And in the book, he goes from the late 19th century all the way up to the present. And the reality is there's this notion that for Black males, sports still represent the perceived primary vehicle through which they can improve their station in life. Why is that? This is my research. You can superimpose it on anything that you are passionate about. Why is it that the narrative persists? Why isn't that a moral imperative isn't enough to shift? The thread, I would argue, it hasn't in this case of racism, doesn't go away, but like Jamar Tisby, if anybody's read his work, he's a historian, it doesn't go away, it just adapts. And socialization through sport is tied to so many other issues, including but not limited to disproportionate discipline referrals for Black males, disproportionate and inappropriate assignment to special education, biased, gifted, and talented selection processes, placement in honors, advanced courses, the school to prison pipeline. Are you hearing enough things that social workers can intervene on? All of which, not surprisingly, disproportionately then push Black males into seeing sport as their only way out. Can you imagine? If you feel blocked out of everything else, why not go to this space and spend hours and hours and hours, and like me growing up, only go to school because you want to play ball afterward. Now, mind you, I think sports in that place is an incredible space within which we can do amazing things with athletes. And so I'm not against sports, just talking about how we structure and deliver them in a way that marginalizes some while providing a lot more benefits for others. Now, I personally have taken a strengths-based approach to serving the needs of underserved students, to Black male athletes in particular, and have found and researched that a team approach, cultural competence is critical to ensuring their success. All of the partnerships that you all will make, because you won't do it in a silo, with school counselors, with school psychologists, with other community agencies, other stakeholders that you're privileged to work with. That's how we facilitate the empowerment of the marginalized, the underserved. I'm talking about Black athletes. You can fill in the blank with anything, LGBTQ plus, Muslim, right? Fill in the blank. Women, physically disabled, handicapped. My son comes home and we talk about even how, if we're not careful, he talks about even how he's seen as an other, right? So you can fill in the blank however you'd like, but it's in this space of cultural competence and community as teams that we can see the empowerment. And as I've explored perceptions of professors in this regard and how we train future practitioners, as I've created group counseling curricula for Black male student athletes in high school, as I've been fortunate to partner with the NCAA to fund an app that promotes the identity development of student athletes. As we've explored the socialization of Black boys now for the last 11 years, I have only been further reminded that a moral imperative is not always enough to provoke the radical change that's needed. But I am inspired in my work, and I hope you are inspired by some of what I'll share next, by way of those who have gone before us and how we can build on their strengths, simultaneously interrogating the systems within which isms continue to function. I'm encouraged, I'm instructed when I think about what those before us did when a moral imperative isn't enough. And I want to name a few within the sports space as examples of what often has to be done. Tom Molino, former slave before Jack Johnson was the boxing champion. Tom Molino wasn't going to be let free, literally fought his way to freedom. Owner made enough money finally. Wasn't a moral imperative to let him go. Paul Robeson, maybe more of us have heard of him. Moral imperative wasn't enough to include him on the Rutgers football team in 1915. He was the third African-American to enroll at Rutgers and was the only one at the time tried out for the football team. During his tryouts, his teammates dislocated his jaw. They messed him up, messed up his shoulder. He'd go on not only to make the team, but will become a two-time consensus All-American football player at Rutgers in 1915 and was class valedictorian. Then went on to receive his law degree at Columbia while playing in the NFL. Jackie Robinson, 42. That's all I wanted to do on my 42nd birthday. I just want to watch Jackie. 42. How many know it wasn't a moral imperative that there was integration? That there were players off in World War II? Negro Baseball League was fine. They needed players. That's how they started snatching folks. So Jackie Robinson, we deservedly celebrated, but it's important to know it wasn't a moral imperative that brought him into that space. Many don't know that Rube Foster, who started the Negro Leagues, had a well-oiled, fully functioning system with Black players and coaches and administrators who all were excluded when the integration happened. None of them were left intact. It wasn't a moral imperative. Many of Jackie Robinson's teammates even were split on whether they even wanted to share a field with a Black player. And it wasn't until 1959 until they were all even integrated. Althea Gibson, tennis player, wasn't a moral imperative for her to be allowed to play. At a time where it was incredibly difficult for anyone Black to play tennis, Althea Gibson went on to be one of the first African-American players to cross the color line of international tennis. And in 1956, became the first African-American to win a Grand Slam. The next year, she won Wimbledon and US Nationals. Arthur Ashe, we can go on. He grew up right here in Richmond, so I'll say a little bit more. Very segregated Richmond. And a moral imperative wasn't enough for him to be allowed to play tennis. Confronted by racism at every turn, wasn't allowed to play tennis with white kids, could not use the city's indoor courts, yet went on to become the first African-American to win the National Junior Indoor Tennis title. We can go on. Tommy Smith, John Carlos, 1968 Olympics. We see both of them decide to use their medals as an opportunity to highlight the ongoing racial tensions and injustices in America. Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul Raif, who played in the NBA, was suspended by the league, eventually came to a compromise where he could pray as a Muslim. Eventually, though, found himself out of the league, one of the best point guards in the league, and yet found himself out. The Williams sisters, when a moral imperative wasn't enough to leave those sisters alone, stop telling them what to dress like, stop describing them as savage and gorillas, and stop describing their body parts and with scrutiny that is just abhorrent, they just kept winning. Over 30 Grand Slams between the two of them. Venus, an advocate for equal pay. Serena doing her own advocacy efforts. What am I saying? Colin Kaepernick, we can go on. The Kentucky basketball team. University of Missouri football team who did not play some years ago. In schools of thought, social work, of education, we're left to think about what to do when a moral imperative is not enough to reject incremental change in favor of radical change on so many fronts. Guarantee you'll be confronted with that. But what I imagine is what more can be accomplished if all of us commit, like I asked you to do earlier, or recommit to not waiting for everyone to catch up. Arthur Ashe didn't wait, Jackie didn't wait, Cap didn't wait, Kentucky basketball team didn't wait. To not wait for others to catch up to what you already know is injustice, what you know is a microaggression, what you know is a policy that allows for bias to flourish, etc. I imagine what rich legacy we can then be a part of, you can be a part of as you step into that space. Thirdly, I promise I won't spend as much time on this one as that, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Without anti-racism isn't DEI at all. In other words, promoting equity is an active endeavor, right? If you're unfamiliar with anti-racism, being anti-racist, it refers to taking an active approach to dismantling racist practices, racial hatred, systemic racism, and the oppression of historically oppressed groups. Being anti-racist essentially begins with critical analysis, gaining knowledge about the systems and the structures that create and sustain inequity and disinviting spaces. Doing so then leads us to a sense of agency, where we can actively develop our own and others' sense of power or capability to create change. And then on the back end of that is the critical action. Interrogating oppressive conditions and committing then to measurable action. I love what author Ijeoma Oluo says. He says it this way: the beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism to be an anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself. That puts us all, if you will, right here. Students come into my classroom, I tell them all the stuff I done messed up with, right? Like, just give it all. I tell them almost said it, the unconscious ignorance that I have, so as to say, we're all here to learn. And my hope for you all as you step into this space to become the best social worker that you can be is that you too find safe spaces within which you can be vulnerable, so that you, like this author says, can commit to finding and rooting out anti-racism wherever you find it, even if it's in you. Finally, you can expect resistance to that end, even from yourself. Frederick Douglass, of course, says, without struggle, there is no progress. Expect it. Expect it. But seek to understand it, and then to disrupt it. Resistance will come, without a doubt. It's going to be there, and many times it'll come in these kinds of forms, and there are many others, but habit strength is one, right? You step into a space and it's like, good gracious, what? Can't you see? Habit strength. Sometimes it's that's the muscle they've functioned with for however many years. Doesn't make them a bad practitioner, doesn't make them anything. It just makes them really strong in these ways. but it can come across as a form of resistance. Knowing that then can help you approach it in a manner that reduces the threat to that. Secondly, a threat to role, image, or security. Maybe you don't go to your superior in front of everyone at the meeting and tell them how wrong they were about something they said, right? Seek a little conscience. Everybody's got an ego. And so some of the resistance might be, I'm supposed to be the president. I'm supposed to be the guru, the expert on Black male student athletes. I don't know the answer to that question, right? So sometimes you can put people in a space where they'll resist because they don't want to look silly. Lastly, and not lastly, there's many others. Some might benefit from the status quo. Let's be real. They might not tell you. Don't change that. That's putting money in my pockets, that policy. Why are we going to mess with a transfer portal in college athletics? Do you know what kind of headaches that has given to college coaches? But it's empowering to these kids. NIL, if anybody's familiar with that, why are we doing that? Well, start that argument here. I'll split the room. NIL is the agreements now that college athletes can get paid and they can get endorsements. And there's arguments on both sides. Clearly, you know which side I'm on. Billions of dollars, billions of dollars. Benefit from the status quo, that sometimes will feed one's resistance. And so let me close, and after which I'm happy to take any questions. And I'll close with this. I can remember years ago, I was listening to someone who was talking about how most of us reside in like two camps, right? One camp are like the hopers, right? Folks who hope. And the other camp are the folks who wish. Anybody know about those camps? Folks who hope, folks who wish, right? So if I got a ticket to the VCU baseball Atlantic 10 championship winning team's game, some of us might hope nobody's sitting in our seat, right? You might hope when you take the bus that nobody steps on your toes. You might hope when you get to class that nobody bumps into you or makes you late. And then there are some of us who wish somebody would be in our seat, right? I wish somebody would step on my toes. I wish somebody would. You got hopers and you got wishers. Now, growing up, I was a hoper. I didn't want any trouble, right? Now, New York, you got to put the face on like you are a wisher because you got to stem off some problems. So I learned how to do that, but really, I was one of those like, man, I don't want to. I really don't. Just let me have a smooth walk to school today, please. And then I got married. I said, I wish somebody would mess with my wife, right? And then I became a dad. What? Which I imagine now is what my parents felt. I wish somebody would. Unintentionally or not. How to pigeonhole my kid or make them feel a certain way. My hope, pun intended, is that for all of us to be those who wish when it comes to seeing injustice. I wish somebody would. I didn't skip over microaggressions tonight. I wanted to have some conversation after this time, so I'll take questions. But I wish somebody would say a microaggression, a micro assault or a micro insult, right? I wish someone would say something like, oh, there they go again, building another ramp. I wish somebody would say, WNBA players should be happy with what they're getting. I wish somebody would. Oh, I wish somebody would present injustice. I wish somebody would marginalize some group in front of me. I wish somebody would. I hope that you become a wisher in that regard, because the more we have that, then we can promote equity on purpose. On purpose. Thank you. Think we're gonna do questions, maybe?
Yeah, you have questions?
They want.
Anybody has a question? Be happy to bring you a microphone. I think maybe your brilliance has stunned us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck. Good luck.
No, closing us out after that feels like a little bit of a pressure. But I hope that you are inspired. I hope as students that you're also a little bit scared because you have embarked on a journey in which people will trust you. They will allow you the honor of journeying with them. Every day, a new experience will be before you. We will teach you lots of skills, but we will never teach you how to expect exactly what is going to happen in front of you. You will learn to adapt, you will learn to grow, and you will make mistakes with real human lives that are vulnerable and trusting of you. So I hope that you're a little bit afraid. Also, the journey you're on is going to be hard. If you thought medical school was supposed to be hard, wait till you meet social work. Because once I teach you a heart, that heart will stay a heart. The valves, for the most part, will stay where they're supposed to be. There'll be a few surprises, but a human being will not do that. And you will learn and adapt and grow in real time. And that should make you a little bit afraid. And as you go on this journey, all the people in this room should make you feel a little bit stronger. All these faculty and staff are here because they have dedicated their life to equipping you to do that well. So that through each of you, we have the opportunity to continue to make the world a better and stronger place. It'll be hard. There might be times you want to quit. There will be times you are very angry at us because we are making you do something hard. Some of them will involve groups. And we will be here and we will be with you and we will walk with you and we will cheer and celebrate when you graduate and we will cheer and celebrate when you come back and tell us the good work that you do. So we thank you for trusting us with your education and for walking with us. And I hope that you have an amazing year. And please remember to stop by my office and tell me all the wonderful things that are happening, or tell me that you need to cry for a minute. We can do that too. And as you do this, we just look forward to seeing you grow. Have a wonderful year, y'all.